in the most hilarious and hippest animated musical comedy ever.
Don't go anywhere. Goofy and Max will be right back with
A Goofy Movie.
A Goofy Movie.
高飞电影就在 Disney Channel。
Tomorrow at 8/7 Central on Disney Channel.
And now, an Allen's Archives presentation.
My name is Steve Moore, one of 4 Steve Moores in animation.
Which one are you?
I'm this one. This is what my tagline. I'm this one. It's going to be on my tombstone. I'm this one. Well, I guess you kind of got to go through credits. I worked on The Brave Little Toaster, Nightmare Before Christmas. I directed All of the Other Reindeer TV special. All of the Other Reindeer was a rescue mission. The producer, Matt Groening, hired me to replace the directors while the show was already in production. So very quickly, I reworked the art direction, reworked the lighting, and I reboarded 90% of the show on Post-it pads, all while animation production was underway. And needless to say, it was a hectic schedule, but we made our air date, got an Emmy nomination, and I got to meet Drew Barrymore's dogs. Emmy nominated for that. I got an Oscar nomination for a short film called Redux Riding Hood, and just worked on tons of stuff.
Yes, stuff from my childhood, that's a fact. A really big one is you animated for A Goofy Movie.
The hit movie of the spring is now coming to home video.
A little bit.
You did animate some very iconic scenes.
Which ones?
Oh man, I mean, you animated some of the Powerline dance sequence, right?
Yeah.
And you also animated that fantastic reaction shot of Goofy when he sees the lady.
Goofy reaction, yeah.
Yes.
Well, that was one of the very rare instances where, in fact, it may be the only one that in my career where I animated something that I boarded on a show, where I'd boarded it, and then when it came up to animation, Kevin Lima, the director, he didn't like what the animators had done, and he was like, "Nobody's getting this. You do it. You do it the way you boarded it." So that's how I ended up animating. But I was the what was I called the sequence director.
Yeah.
On that Powerline sequence, because they had broken off. I got a call from Kevin, and I'd been doing boards on that. That's why I say I primarily did boards on it. I did tons and tons of board work and story work on it. And but Kevin called me, and he was in Paris doing production, and said they were behind schedule, and they had this kind of effects heavy sequence and I knew what it was. I'd worked on it, and would I be interested in going to Australia, where they had their TV animation studio down there, and overseeing it, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. So a few days later, a week or so later, I had to get the visa and all that stuff, and then went to Australia. But so I had a group of animators that were really good, and then and I animated a few scenes. Just there were some short Powerline dance things, I think I do, some of this little short stuff, and then that Goofy reaction shot, and then I did the shot where the background singer, the big gal, and she's doing one of these dances with the big wiggle in it, and not the one where they go into her mouth, the one before that. Take a look inside of me, I think that was the line, and I did that one, and I think that was it on it.
You really are a part of history. You really are working on this film.
Turning out that way, yeah. I mean, You stick around long enough, you can't help it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Do you think you could give us your definition of storyboard artist?
Definition? Well,
yeah. Or what your experience has been? The relationship you have with these directors in these films that we grew up with as storyboard artists.
Is it gone yet?
Well, the process itself is just mostly always working with scripts.
From there, you'll start drawing it out panel by panel.
They spend a lot of time making sure that the boards and what appears on the screen is really right.
Like in the case of Goofy Movie, it was we had a script, It wasn't very good, but it was a blueprint. And I would sit with Kevin and Brian Pimentel, and sometimes just me and Kevin in his office, and they'd show me we'd go over those few pages that I was going to board out, and we'd talk about how do we do this? How do we do this in a better way?
And there's big evolution between the script and what you finally see.
Like, for instance, I remember working on the Possum Park, the stop that Max doesn't want to go to, but Goofy's into because it's so old-fashioned and corny. And what can we do? And so we get talking back and forth, and that's where we came up with like the Country Bears low-budget version and all that corny stuff, and I'm boarding it, but I'm writing lines as we're boarding it, and so I'm just thinking about like when I was, a kid and that age and didn't want to be somewhere, and just trying to get across that frustration in the boards and the dial, all that stuff. And so, like things I never thought they would put in there where Max is so frustrated and that little possum guy comes up and he just goes, "Beat it, doofus," and he smacks him in the head.
Beat it, doofus.
It made it in the movie. I thought there's no way this is going to make it, but it makes it in the movie. So it's kind of fun. And when that happens, it doesn't always happen. More times than not, stuff that I think is really fun, they'll either make me tone it down or take it out. But that film was the exception like that. A lot of what we came up with ended up on the screen, and I guess that's why we talk about it so much, because you can point to the stuff directly. But the thing you're trying to get across to try to answer your question here is, by definition, I guess the storyboard artist, they're there to make the script visual on screen, make that leap from written word to a visual element with staging, not just staging, but character acting. You're getting poses that help tell what's going on inside the character's head. And not all board artists can do that. And a lot of guys, it seems like they can either do the staging part and they're really great at it, or they can do the action part and they're really good at it, or they can just do the acting part. But, it's hard to get all three of them together. You put this together in the animatic, and now you have a very good idea of whether that thing's going to work. So it's sort of like pre-editing the film before you film it, because once you animate it, that's a lot of money to animate something. And once you've done that, it's a lot more expensive to go back and change it. So as opposed to live action, where they film a lot of coverage and things and then edit together, and the magic happens in editing. This is just the opposite, where the editing happens first.
Once the voices have been recorded and the storyboards are complete, they are given to the animators to begin work. And to further guide the animators, the director gives his ideas.
I actually go through the storyboard frame by frame and talk about what I want from the acting of the piece. So I'll get up there and I'll do Goofy's voice and I'll do a Bigfoot and all that kind of stuff, and basically act out the scenes.
We're sort of the springboard between, ideally, we should be a springboard between the writers and the animators.
It seems like you were able to do cooler things in this project than you're able to in other Disney projects. I want to ask about how the Black community fully embraced the Goofy movie.
Hey, I'm watching the movie. I don't want no Goofy No Goofy. Ah, what the hell, bro? Yeah!
How much did you feel that in the making of it? Could you have guessed that was going to happen? Do you know about it?
He's black. He's literally black. He has an afro. He's a single father. His principal said that he would end up in an electric chair. Max is clearly an ass man. Max about to break his neck looking at that ass. Look at that. My man wasn't even trying to hide it. Look at that. Oh, God damn.
PJ is that spoiled black kid that always has the newest game station. He is the over-exaggerated father who loves sports and always yelling about something. Tell me this is not Ice Spice. How can I lose when I already know?
It does capture 90s black culture in a way that most animated films at the time didn't.
We just claim characters as black whenever we want, and as a community, we're always just like, yes.
The Goofy movie is the blackest Disney film, period. I know Princess and the Frog exists. It is what it is. And Goofy was getting bad parenting advice from another parent who was abusing his kid. Sounds like black families to me.
Have you all noticed this before?
Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, baby.
Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, baby. This is a hill I'm ready to die on. Watch how they do their handshakes. Watch how they move. Watch how they dance. Those are niggas. You can't tell. Goofy's a nigga. 'Cause I want you know. Like this always gave me Kim. You will not tell me she is not giving swoop bangs. You will not tell me she is not giving fried, dyed, and laid to the side.
The goofs are black.
I know about it, but and it's funny to me. I saw the Atlanta episode. Yes, you know the one I'm talking about. Because Kevin sent me. Yeah, he saw it, and but at that time, no, we didn't think about that.
Oh,
you know, we weren't thinking about any of that stuff. Powerline, you know, he had. I mean, it was a black singer recording it, and he didn't have a regular speaking voice. He never said anything. He just sang. But and you know, he had the look with the haircut and all that. But we weren't really thinking about it in those terms. We were making a cartoon. It wasn't like we were thinking, boy, we got to animate him black.
Mm-hmm,
It wasn't that conversation never happened. That kind of consideration just never happened. We were just doing our thing, and really, you know, the whole film. I don't know. At least in my case, I wasn't thinking about an audience. We were entertaining ourselves more than anything. I still do that. And my thing is, you know, if it entertains me, I assume it's going to entertain somebody else, you know, because I think I'm at least in touch with what on a primal level people get a kick out of. But no, that was the whole reaction to Goofy movie was such an amazing kind of surprise in general. You know, I can remember going back 10 or 15 years now, Kevin Lima sending me YouTube videos when like YouTube just started, you know, it was all these things. And there were these college kids doing the eye to eye dance in their dorm rooms. And him finding these things, sending them to me. I was like, we never thought about these kids are going to grow up, you know, and
right.
But there they are growing up and it still goes on. And, you know, we went to a few years back. There was a screening at El Capitan, and I got to go be on a panel with Kevin and Brian and a few others, and to be in the audience watching the film with them, where they're singing along and shouting out the lines that I wrote, you know, some of that Bobby stuff, you know, and it's just like it's a trip. It's very awesome. Weird because you know we're not. You know, we're not famous people. We're just little animation worker bees over here. But your work is famous and it's cool because you have this anonymity. You can go sit in the audience and watch and nobody has any idea that what you did on it. But you get a kick out of it, seeing an honest reaction like that.
Yeah, what it seems like is that a Goofy movie compared to anything else that Disney does, a Goofy movie is a lot more hip. It's a lot more hip than the other projects. And people even bring up the way that they do their handshakes, you know, like that left an impression on people and they felt the way that they felt.
I can't speak for Kevin, but we weren't thinking we were hip.
There's a difference between making something just move or just putting a drawing on a piece of paper and making something live. If you love people and you watch them and you see these little things that they do and you're able to put that in your work.
At the same time the story is being ironed out, artists are designing the different characters needed for each scene.
And they have a vague idea of what the characters are. The character designer just basically makes a person out of them.
Carol's design was based on a sketch made by the director.
Kevin, for example, wanted a character who was 13 years old and spunky and the most popular girl in the school.
You know, and another thing I think about, and maybe, you know, it just comes across in the work and we don't, you know, never really dug into it, but you have other works that came out before a Goofy movie, Bebe's Kids.
It began in the mind of an offbeat comedian.
I see you got a weight problem. Can't wait to eat.
It grew into an animated world for the whole family. Bebe's Kids. It's animation with an attitude.
Yeah, I did a little work on that.
A little work on that.
My grandma's in that film. She's in it. There was a sequence in there. I was doing some character designs for Bruce Smith, who's the director on it. And there was this old lady who's in a china shop or something like this. I think it was a china shop in the theme park, and the kids get in there and all hell breaks loose. Anyway, this little old lady. So I did a design and I based her on my grandma, who she died in 1979. She never got to see it, but well, an old lady, I'll put my grandma in there. And I told Bruce, and we had a laugh about it. And he on the model sheet called it Steve's grandma. I don't know that it's in the credits that way, but it's on the model sheet. I thought that was really nice of him.
She was immortalized.
What's that?
She was immortalized.
Immortalized, yeah, exactly. So, and then I animated. I know I animated a scene on it. It was like a dancing scene in one of the songs, and I forget how much more I did on it.
I checked out some clips from it and some scenes, and I was just super impressed by it. I love the style of it.
What's your name? I'm the jawbreaker, the candy taker, and never skip school, I'm the food baker, original man in a strange land. You never saw my butt on American Bandstand, the MC's name is Khalil. And if you can't spell it, you never will.
You would, you say any of that transferred over when you were working on Proud Family?
Well, Proud Family, I'm trying to remember when that came along. It was several years removed. I mean, I wouldn't say there was anything directly from other than it was the same director. But
okay.
Proud Family, I did a couple storyboards, and I think that may have been the first TV storyboard work that I'd done. It was hard because TV's a different animal than features, because there's just so much you're expected to do that in features it's, another department will do that. I did 2 boards and I'm like, well, I've had enough of this. At the time, I was like, I found something else to do.
I saw that you did do storyboarding work for Nightmare Before Christmas. You also did work on Coraline, and a lot more got into that film.